Hello fellow style explorers. In today's video, we're diving into the world of 3D styles, those that feel sculpted, modeled, or rendered rather than drawn or painted. These styles can bring a cinematic, game-like quality to prompts, full of depth and lighting effects you don't often see in 2D approaches. As usual, I've started each style test with a 16:9 horizontal image using just the period symbol and seed, 777, which helps show what the style naturally produces without any subject matter. Then, I pushed them further with 4 vertical prompts: Mecha Pilot, Lava Dragon, Skybridge, and Lunar Colony. Together they cover character, creature, architecture, and environment, so we can really test how flexible these styles are. If you want to experiment yourself, remember to add --SREF with the style number to your prompt and turn personalization off so your results match more closely. Let's see how these 3D-inspired looks handle both the epic and the intricate. #4. Pastel Neon 3D Modeling. The landscapes glow with a playful candy-coated palette of neon blues and bubblegum pinks, rendered in smooth 3D forms with a plastic-like finish. The tone feels light-hearted and surreal, like stepping into a toy world or a pastel video game environment. Each subject translates neatly into this aesthetic, their shapes softened and recolored to fit the palette. The Mecha Pilot and Lava Dragon look like collectible figurines, while the Skybridge and Lunar Colony resemble toy playsets. The consistency is strong across all prompts, though the dragon stands out slightly with its more dynamic curves compared to the geometric clarity of the other subjects. 163. Pastel Clay Diorama. Dusky violets and soft pinks bathe the scenes in a dreamlike haze, with textures that feel velvety and tactile. The lighting leans cinematic, blending warmth and shadow to create a gentle, storybook atmosphere. In this pastel twilight, each subject takes on a quiet charm. The Mecha Pilot and Dragon feel less imposing, reshaped into whimsical characters, while bridges and colonies appear like surreal dioramas suspended in cotton candy skies. The look holds together well, with only the dragon hinting at a sharper, more dramatic tone that slightly disrupts the calm. 166. Glowing Neon Dreamscape. Luminous outlines glow against deep shadows, sculpting every form in crisp, neon white. The effect is sleek and otherworldly, like a futuristic vision rendered in pure light. Here, the subjects feel more like spectral icons than tangible figures. Mecha Pilots appear as radiant exosuits, dragons coil in shimmering strokes, and bridges transform into gateways of light. The Lunar Colony matches this aesthetic especially well, though the dragon's organic form introduces a slight break from the otherwise architectural precision. 169. Iridescent Liquid Sculpture. Shimmering iridescence floods every surface, with purples, pinks, and blues refracting like liquid crystal. The imagery feels radiant and luxurious, as though sculpted from glass and lit by shifting sunsets. Within this prismatic style, the subjects gleam like jeweled sculptures. Mecha Pilots and dragons take on a crystalline presence, dazzling yet fragile, while bridges and colonies glow with futuristic opulence. The cohesion is striking, though the density of reflections can sometimes overwhelm finer details, pushing the focus towards spectacle over clarity. 175. Neon Mesh Wireframe Rendering. Electric blues and fiery oranges course through translucent textures, creating the impression of bioluminescence captured in motion. The look is vivid and high energy, with fine mesh-like details giving every surface a living, pulsing quality. Set within this neon glow, the subjects feel alive with heat and electricity. Mecha Pilots resemble armored organisms, dragons appear like radiant reptiles, and bridges ripple with surreal energy fields. The Lunar Colony adapts surprisingly well, though the abundance of glowing detail sometimes makes it harder to distinguish architectural forms from natural ones. 187. Neon-tiled futuristic garden. Vibrant cyan and magenta neon coat every surface, with tiled textures and glowing grids anchoring the style in a cyberpunk aesthetic. The look is crisp and futuristic, mixing architectural clarity with the saturated glow of nightlife. Placed in this world, the subjects feel engineered from digital light. Mecha pilots and dragons resemble pixelated sculptures, bridges stretch like illuminated data pathways, and colonies shine as neon metropolises on alien ground. The cohesion is strong, though the dragon's organic curves sit a little stiffly against the otherwise angular, tech-driven aesthetic. 192. Vibrant red teal CGI. Bold reds and teals dominate the frame, creating a strikingly graphic look with smooth 3D modeling and high contrast. The style feels playful yet assertive, as though built from glossy plastic blocks or oversized toys. Inside this color clash, the subjects stand out with pop art intensity. Mecha pilots and dragons become bold sculptures, while bridges and colonies look like stylized dioramas carved from candy-colored clay. The cohesion is excellent, though the harsh palette can flatten finer detail, leaving the dragon especially looking more decorative than fearsome. 207. Gradient wireframe, topography. Yellow, red, and violet gradients ripple across wireframe-like surfaces, producing a technical yet artistic feel. The style looks almost like 3D scans or topographic prints, glowing with experimental energy. Applied here, the subjects take on the appearance of data visualizations brought to life. Mecha pilots and dragons are sculpted in color bands that emphasize form over realism, while bridges and colonies look as architectural studies dipped in heat map hues. The cohesion is clear, though the rigid gradient patterns sometimes distract from the subject's depth, flattening them into diagrams rather than full scenes. 254. Vibrant procedural voxel extrusion. Explosions of color burst in every direction, with textures resembling clustered fibers and bristles. The style is chaotic yet dazzling, turning forms into dense, tactile surfaces alive with motion. When applied here, the subjects look as though they've been grown from vibrant, organic matter. Mecha pilots and dragons bristle with rainbow spines, bridges stretch into surreal multicolored webs, and colonies spill across lunar terrain in radiant patches. The energy is captivating, though the overwhelming density sometimes obscures the underlying shapes, leaving less room for subtle detail. 338. Neon iridescent. 3D. Surrealism. Chromatic metallics ripple with neon blues, purples, and pinks, giving everything the shine of liquid chrome under nightclub lights. The style feels sleek, synthetic, and intensely futuristic, with forms polished to a reflective glow. Across this surface, the subjects appear like holographic sculptures. Mecha pilots and dragons gleam with prismatic armor, bridges stretch into gleaming tunnels of light, and colonies resemble chrome citadels on alien ground. The consistency is excellent, though the high gloss sheen occasionally makes details blend together, prioritizing spectacle over intricacy. 405. Holographic cyan Eden. Cool cyan light washes over every surface, creating a translucent, holographic effect that feels both ethereal and digital. The atmosphere is ghostly yet futuristic, like a projection flickering between reality and simulation. In this spectral glow, the subjects appear as luminous apparitions. Mecha pilots look like flickering avatars. Dragons shimmer as radiant outlines, and bridges and colonies seem constructed from light rather than matter. The cohesion is strong, though the pale tonal range sometimes reduces contrast, making details harder to distinguish. 408. Fluorescent garden pop. Explosive greens, pinks, and blues collide in a fluorescent rush, filling the style with hyper-saturated energy. The effect is playful and chaotic, like a mashup of street art and digital jungle. Brought into this palette, the subjects radiate eccentric vibrancy. Mecha pilots and dragons are coated in candy-like surfaces, bridges twist into neon-painted structures, and colonies sprout with cosmic vegetation. The look holds together through sheer color intensity, though the overwhelming saturation can sometimes blur readability and make scenes feel busy. 430. Sci-fi spore geometry. Earthy golds, deep blues, and textured patterns weave together into a surreal, organic tapestry. The look feels psychedelic and tactile, as if every form is made from woven fibers or carved biomorphic structures. Placed into this strange aesthetic, the subjects become otherworldly artifacts. Mecha pilots resemble ritual totems, dragons look like mythic beasts, sculpted from patterned shells, and bridges and colonies transform into dreamlike architectures of growth and decay. The cohesion is strong, though the heavy textures occasionally make the designs feel more decorative than functional. 4.3.8. Luminous threadform worlds. Shimmering purples, blues, and pinks radiate like woven light against stark black backgrounds. The style feels ethereal and luminous, with textures that glisten like embroidered threads catching starlight. Within this glowing framework, the subjects take on an almost mystical presence. Mecha pilots gleam like cosmic guardians, dragons curl as radiant spirits, and bridges and colonies shimmer as if stitched from strands of light. The cohesion is excellent, though the heavy reliance on black voids can make the scenes feel less grounded compared to other 3D treatments. 4.6.8. Psychedelic paper bloom. Swirls of saturated reds, oranges, and greens create a fantastical, carnival-like world. The forms feel sculpted from layered paper or fabric, full of rhythm and playful texture. Immersed in this psychedelic craftwork, the subjects transform into ornate storybook figures. Mecha pilots look like costumed adventurers. Dragons bristle with rainbow scales, and bridges and colonies expand into sprawling wonderlands. The cohesion is strong, though the busyness of overlapping patterns sometimes risks overwhelming the eye. 5.0.1. Pastel dreamscape bloom. Soft gradients of peach, lavender, and sky blue wash over every surface, creating a hazy pastel dream. The style feels light, fluffy, and inviting, like wandering through a candy-colored fairy tale. Inside this gentle palette, the subjects turn into whimsical storybook figures. Mecha pilots and dragons lose their edge, transformed into playful companions, while bridges and colonies resemble frosted castles floating in the clouds. The consistency is strong, though the washed-out tones sometimes blur finer definition, giving everything a misty softness. 6.5.6. Iridescent biolum bloom. Deep blues and purples swirl with fiery reds and neon highlights, producing a glowing, iridescent darkness. The style feels immersive and moody, like bioluminescence unfolding in a cosmic night. Through this lens, the subjects radiate with surreal intensity. Mecha pilots shimmer like armored specters, dragons blaze with spectral fire, and bridges and colonies glow as if suspended in liquid light. The cohesion is excellent, though the density of color blending sometimes makes edges dissolve into the atmosphere. 7.4.8. Carved jade flowscape. Flowing turquoise and ivory shapes curl like sculpted waves, giving the impression of carved jade or lacquered reliefs. The style blends elegance with tactility, as if entire worlds were etched into polished stone. Through this ornate lens, the subjects become works of crafted artistry. Mecha pilots appear like ceremonial guardians, dragons coil with the majesty of myth carved into panels, and bridges and colonies unfurl as intricate landscapes. The cohesion is strong, though the heavy decorative treatment can sometimes make the forms feel more ornamental than dynamic. 7.9.4. Silent concrete monolith. Minimalist grays and stark lighting define this style, evoking the atmosphere of a contemporary art installation. The look is restrained and contemplative, with heavy contrasts between light and shadow giving weight to every form. In this sparse setting, the subjects become striking sculptures. Mecha pilots and dragons appear as solemn statues, bridges stretch into austere corridors, and colonies resemble abstract monuments beneath a distant moon. The cohesion is excellent, though the muted palette strips away detail, making everything feel more symbolic than functional. 8.1.2. Monumental driftwood constructs. Raw textures of wood, stone, and clay dominate, giving the impression of massive hand-built sculptures placed in a gallery. The mood is monumental and heavy, with every form carrying the weight of physical labor and material presence. Shaped in this sculptural style, the subjects feel like artifacts of a lost civilization. Mecha Pilots are rendered as weathered effigies, dragons rise like carved guardians, and bridges and colonies become vast, crumbling installations. The cohesion is strong, though the rough, fragmented forms sometimes obscure clarity, pushing the focus more toward concept than detail. 823. Sculpted Petal Spectrum. Lavish layers of petals and sculpted florals explode in vibrant purples, pinks, and golds. The style feels ornate and fantastical, as if every element has been meticulously built from carved blossoms. Through this decorative vision, the subjects appear as living mosaics of color. Mecha Pilots and dragons are clad in petal-like armor, bridges bloom with layered textures, and colonies rise as floral kingdoms beneath painted skies. The cohesion is strong, though the sheer density of ornamental detail can make it difficult for the eye to rest on individual forms. 854. Iridescent Neon Bioglass. Glowing emerald greens and deep purples dominate, with surfaces shining like polished glass under ultraviolet light. The look is sleek, futuristic, and slightly alien, evoking the feel of a bioluminescent city. Framed in this palette, the subjects radiate a high-tech mystique. Mecha Pilots gleam like armored sentinels. Dragons coil with crystalline sheen, and bridges and colonies transform into luminous megastructures. The cohesion is excellent, though the reflective glow can sometimes overpower subtle detail, favoring spectacle over nuance. 904. Solar Pop Galleryscape. Rich golds and deep indigos set a bold, solar-inspired palette, with smooth forms that feel both modern and mythic. The style glows with warmth, like a futuristic world bathed in perpetual sunset. Cast in these radiant tones, the subjects gain a regal presence. Mecha Pilots appear like gilded guardians, dragons blaze with sunlit strength, and bridges and colonies rise as luminous monuments. The cohesion is strong, though the heavy reliance on flat colors gives some surfaces a poster-like quality, reducing texture depth. 954. Neon Opal Polymer. Pearlescent swirls of pink, blue and lavender create a glossy, candy-like sheen across every form. The style is soft yet futuristic, resembling sculptures made from liquid neon glass. Interpreted this way, the subjects become playful and ornamental. Mecha Pilots and dragons look like collectible figurines, while bridges and colonies flow like melted structures from a dreamscape. The cohesion is strong, though the gooey, iridescent finish sometimes sacrifices detail, giving everything a decorative, rather than functional feel. 996. Bioluminescent Crystal Flow. Vivid purples and electric blues glow like living organisms in the dark, evoking deep-sea bioluminescence. The style feels immersive and mysterious, with light pulsing from within fractured textures. Seen through this glow, the subjects radiate an alien vitality. Mecha Pilots shimmer as crystalline beings, dragons blaze like living constellations, and bridges and colonies spark with luminous energy. The cohesion is strong, though the heavy darkness occasionally swallows detail, making silhouettes more important than fine design. Alright, those were the 3D styles I explored for this video. I was impressed by how much variety there was, from sharp, metallic renders to softer, almost clay-like interpretations. Some styles leaned into dramatic lighting, while others emphasized textures, which makes them useful for everything from character design to world building. If any of these caught your eye, let me know in the comments which you'd like to use. The full set of images and prompts is available as a PDF on my Patreon or Ko-fi, where members also get early access to most of my videos. And if you just want to keep following along here, subscribing and joining the conversation on YouTube helps a lot. Thank you for watching, and let's continue prompting.